living longer, living healthier, living better than ever before. Welcome to Mountain Pacific's Healthy Living for Life, a weekly series that gives you the information, education, and expert insight you need to become an active participant in today's ever-changing healthcare climate. Here now is today's program host.
Skin cancer is the most common cancer worldwide, and it is on the rise in the U.S., with more than 9,500 people diagnosed with cancer every day and 2 Americans dying from skin cancer every hour. So what can you do to reduce your odds for developing skin cancer? Welcome to Healthy Living for Life, a show dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm your host, Beth Brown. Today we're talking about sun safety and skin cancer prevention. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living for Life. Joining us first this morning is Carrie Fairbrother, who is a nurse educator at St. Peter's Health, and she's also been a long-time advocate about sun safety. And thanks so much for being on again, Carrie. It's very good to have you back.
Thank you.
So you actually have a very personal story as to the reason that you are so passionate about skin cancer and sun safety. Can you tell us about that reason?
Well, recently I was reviewing all the new things they have for treating melanoma, and it brought me back to the days when my husband was first diagnosed. And in those days, I was a young mom and a young nurse, and the words melanoma only meant, from my vast nursing knowledge, that somebody was going to be dead pretty soon. And so you can imagine it was actually given to us in a very strange way in those days over the phone. And I remember feeling like I was going to faint, actually, gray mist. We had 3 young children, and he was really the healthiest person you know. And he was actually the healthiest person I knew, except that he had melanoma. And so in our story, it was an unknown primary, but he had a lump under his arm. And when they did the biopsy, and my brother's a pathologist, he actually bent the keys in his hands because it looked so awful. So we did everything when I was looking at this history of what the treatments of melanoma are. We did everything. But in that process, and this is what got me passionate, you sat for hours because there was no real, you were trying all these different therapies at NIH and at Mayo Clinic and Georgetown and University Hospital, and we went everywhere, Sloan Kettering. But each time you're sitting very, very still and anxious in a waiting room, and the nursing part of me couldn't help but start communicating with the people around me. And I wanted to know, we are all there for the same purpose, to find something. What brought them there, and what were the signs of their family members' cancer? And it was always almost the same thing. Oh, she watched this thing grow on her leg, or she saw this changing, but it didn't hurt, it didn't itch, it didn't do anything. And she showed it to somebody, but they didn't think it was anything. And so long time interval from seeing something changing on your skin and no knowledge that it might be something horrific. So by the time we did everything we could do in those days, and truly when I study now, it's like my family's the history of all those treatments. He's number 7 or something, it's just definitely there. I've talked to doctors who said, oh yeah, you were with the main man of the time. But it did not work. And he went from diagnosis of a stage 3 to stage 4. And he valiantly lived, instead of the 6 months, they said 2.5 years. So my kids did get to grow up a little bit. And he died probably before you were born or something, but he died in 1989. And since then, there have been lots of changes. But unfortunately, even with the most fabulous, and I mean fabulous changes, we still see an excruciatingly high death rate with advanced melanoma. So melanoma that hasn't been caught early. So that's my passion, is prevention. Primary, don't let people do the changes to their skin that would make them more likely to get skin cancer. So the sunburn, the UV light, the tanning beds. And secondary, screen the skin. Know your skin you're in. Make sure you do take advantage of going to somebody and getting it checked. And if you really feel like it's changing, be insistent. Say this and take pictures. We all can do that now with our phone. Makes a great deal of difference. You can say and put a little ruler next to it. This is what it looked like, and this is what it looks like now. So be your own best advocate would be my words.
Yeah.
So what has changed? Not enough.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and I'm so sorry about your husband. But this is what has prompted you to be so passionate about this, and so you're out there talking about this, just like the advice that you just gave us. How receptive are people to the message you're trying to get out there?
Well, the first year that I did a lot of skin cancer informationals through the St. Peter's Hospital Wellness Program throughout the state, we did things for various large groups. And the first year that I did this, I showed pictures, did a talk, and said if anybody had anything they were concerned about, to seek me out, and then try to catch them into a professional dermatology person in their area. And I had so many melanomas and skin cancers found that first year that it actually made me horrified. But these were all people who didn't know to get checked. And when I would take my sunscreen and go out and about, and I'd say, hey, you need some sunscreen, would you like some? People would look at me strangely. And I will say, 2 years ago, when I did the last 4th of July activity where I would send out, now there were lines of people to get sunscreen. So there is a difference. People they're more aware. And I mean, I used to have to run out into the crowd with my little basket and beg people to wear it, or put it on their kids. And now there's a difference. And even in countries where they really pride themselves on tanning, like Brazil, I saw people with their babies and children in sun clothing and sun hats. So I think there's a changing feeling in the community. The problem is most of us feel like it won't happen to us or our own.
Sure. Yeah, so we have just under a minute left. Carrie, in general, how educated do you think we are when it comes to sun safety?
Well, if you look at the surveys, I think people generally have some idea that it's a problem, but it's just not going to happen to them. So there's a real disconnect between knowing some basic information and doing anything about it. And I think we need to do more. We need to protect children. We need to not have indoor tanning beds accessible. Other countries have completely excluded them. You're not even allowed to have an indoor tanning bed other than for medical purposes. And that's for certain skin conditions, which they need to make the skin less immune. We don't want that. We want our skin to be able to fight. So I would just say, I think more knowledge is out there. I think more knowledge needs to be. I think people need to know the skin they're in. They need to go for a checkup and need to have the provider tell them what to watch out for. And I need you'll have some pictures at the end of this production, and I need you to have people look at them and say, how do I look compared to this, and seek care.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Carrie. We do need to pause here for a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk to somebody who crossed paths with Carrie in a very meaningful way. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Healthy Living for Life. Joining us now is Mo Shea, who is a sun safety advocate and also a former Miss Montana. And thanks so much for being with us today, Mo.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you chose sun safety as your platform for education when you were Miss Montana. Can you talk to us about why that's the platform you chose?
Yeah, so actually when I was a freshman in high school, my mom sat my sister and I down and let us know that she had been diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma. Hearing the word cancer come out of any loved one's mouth is always really scary, especially when you're so young and you don't really have any context for what that really means. So we were very fortunate that her cancer was not only caught early, but also very treatable. But because it was so scary for me at the time, the way I handle those emotions is really to just educate myself and to try to learn more, because I find that really comforting. So I went with my mom to her skin cancer removal surgery in Helena, and I was kind of asking the doctor questions the whole time. We were chit-chatting, and my mom remembers this pretty vividly, that she was underneath her drapes and kind of like, hi, I'm here too. But I was just so interested in learning more, and we had a really great conversation. And I remember the doctor sharing with me that skin cancer is something that's actually very preventable with the right precautions. And I found that so interesting and so surprising because I didn't really understand that at my age. And it was something that kind of in that moment I knew I wanted to share with others, and something that I would continue to advocate for pretty much the rest of my life.
That's great. And so you won Miss Montana in 2019. What were your first steps to get your message out there?
So I was really fortunate that I was actually already plugged in with the sun safety and skin cancer prevention networks in the state of Montana, since it was something I'd been involved with for years prior. So after winning the title of Miss Montana, I was able to kind of go back to these organizations like the Montana Cancer Coalition, and we were able to kind of discuss how to best bring our message to a more statewide level, given that I was suddenly given this more prominent and public platform to speak on. So that was a really cool opportunity.
Great. And so at what point did you meet Carrie Fairbrother?
So I actually met Carrie Fairbrother when I was 15 years old, right at the end of my freshman year of high school. It was recommended to me before I competed in the Miss Montana's Outstanding Teen program back in 2012 to go and talk with her because she was well known for having a lot of good information about skin cancer and sun safety. So I went and met with her, and we probably chatted for over an hour. She gave me a stack of papers and different pamphlets and information so that I could go and be better prepared for my interview. And it ended up working out well because I ended up actually winning the title of Miss Montana's Outstanding Teen back in 2012 and was able to really become an advocate for skin cancer and sun safety when I was only 15.
Wow, that is impressive. And so then as far as initiatives that you two worked on together, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think the biggest initiative that I really like to talk about that we were on together was we were both members of the Sun Safety Implementation Team with the Montana Cancer Coalition. And our team worked on, when I was a senior in college in 2019 as well, bringing a national Skin Smart Campus initiative to the University of Montana where I was a student. And we were able to work with administrators and the Student Health Service to try to bring this initiative, which limits any use of indoor tanning devices. So both on campus as well as any student discounts, just to make sure that the university is invested in the health and safety of its students when it comes to skin cancer prevention. And so we were able to work with the administration and actually get that brought onto the University of Montana campus, which was really great.
And so was, excuse me, was that your main educational platform then? And what were some of the key initiatives that you tried to push through then?
Yeah, so kind of in my Miss Montana responsibilities, the big thing I did was traveling all over the state of Montana, and most of my presentations were actually to K through 12 students. So because I was talking to different age groups that were all fairly young, I wanted to make sure that no matter which age group I was speaking with, at the end of the presentation, they could walk away with simple activities that they could build into habits that would help prevent skin cancer over a lifetime, since we know that sun exposure is actually something that's cumulative over a life. So those healthy habits established at a young age make a huge impact.
Okay, and you also worked on some legislation too, is that correct? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so another organization that I was partnered with while I was Miss Montana was I was asked to be a legislative ambassador for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. And something that we were trying to get past was to have me kind of meet with Montana legislators and to try to lobby for a bill that would restrict the use of UV indoor tanning devices by any minor under the age of 18.
Wow, that's great. So we only have about a minute left, Mo. What do you want to make sure we hear today?
I would just say that, like I said earlier, establishing these healthy daily activities like incorporating sunscreen or just being mindful about what you're wearing when you're going to go out and be exposed, especially since we live such active outdoor lifestyles in the state of Montana, since we have such natural state beauty. We want to make sure that we're just being safe and taking those small precautions, because something that you do on a daily basis is really going to become a habit and it's going to carry with you throughout your life.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mo. That's all the time we have, but we really appreciate you being on with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. And we'll be right back after these messages when we talk to Carrie Fairbrother again. She's going to give us some tips on how we can stay safe in the sun. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back, and joining us again now is Carrie Fairbrother, and thanks for coming back to talk to us a little bit more here, Carrie. So the work that you and Mo did together, that helped a lot of people. Are there other organizations out there that are doing similar work, trying to educate folks on sun safety and skin cancer prevention?
There are so many. And one of the best places to go is that National Council on Skin Cancer Prevention. And they sponsor something called, because that council is made up of over 100 different organizations that support skin cancer prevention. So you can go to that site and get the link to others. But I especially like the Children's Melanoma Education Foundation, which is now under Melanoma Research Alliance, because they have curriculum that parents can go to or teachers can go to. Everything's free. On all these sites, nobody's going to be charging you for information. Should you have melanoma, AIM at Melanoma or family member is a wonderful site that supports you. If you're trying to do legislation to prevent indoor tanning, they know what's going on in other states and can tell you how to support that. But one of the best things that's coming right up at the end of May is Don't Friday. And I'm going to show you a little sign about this. This lady is wrinkled on one side and not wrinkled on the other, just reminding people what UV light can do to your skin. Okay. And that's the last Friday in May. And if you go to the Don't Friday site, you can find lots of activities to do, lots of information. And again, that will link you with the National Council to all these other programs, because thank goodness there are many out there. Skin Cancer Foundation is another one. The American Academy of Dermatology, the Dermatology Nurses Association. We're all members of that umbrella organization, which will give your members or people or viewers plenty of information, more than they could ever want. And everything's free to download. So, for instance, so you get your posters, how to do it, how to get an organization in your community. They're all there. Okay. So lots has happened since the 1990s.
That's great. And I'm sure folks will go out and check some of that out. But in the meantime, do you have any tips that you can give us when it comes to sun safety?
I really do. There's an acronym, Sun Aware, which means, avoid those times when the UV index is high. Get a UV index on your telephone. You can get it to let you know what the UV index is where you are or where your kids are every day. So you can go to the EPA and do that. Wear sun protective clothing. That's what I'm wearing right now. It's not got to look ugly, and it doesn't have to be shiny and crispy. This is 100% cotton, and I wear these. I even have the trousers on when I'm out doing activities that I know I'm going to stay out in the sun. And I always use a wide brim hat. And we have baby hats that we're making here as part of our program for hats on for little babies so that they don't get the sun exposure. And then besides all that, we want you to make sure you know the skin you're in and educate, routinely check yourself and educate the people around you about sun safety so that you have a concerted effort in your family. It's really difficult when you have one person who wants to be tanned and burned and the other family members not. So get that education out there. If you have a history of sunburn, make sure you scrutinize your skin more often. Most of us have a history of sunburn, certainly at my age group, because it wasn't known to do anything. In fact, we were told it was healthy for our skin. People used it for acne. I mean, amazing situations in the past. If you have a family history of any skin cancer, you're more at risk of all skin cancers. If you've had one skin cancer, you're more at risk. If you have freckles and fair eyes, like you have fair skin and light eyes, you're more at risk, but any mammal can get melanoma. So you're not at risk if you have pigmented skin. And many parts of the population think they have no risk at all if they can tan easily, which is false. Okay. The problem is we don't know our own genetics. If you have family members, again, that makes you more at risk. If you live at a high altitude and spend a lot of time outdoors, like we do in Montana, that makes us at more risk. if you have a profession that puts you in with creosol, so arsenic that they have where they do some of the mining, and then also when we do some of the tree work, that puts you at more risk for skin cancers. So there are lots of risk factors out there. We can't control them all. Some of them we're born with, but what we can control is our behavior now.
Okay, and sunscreen seems to be a big part of that too, because obviously we can control that.
I always say protect your skin, either with sun clothing. Like, I don't want to put sunscreen all over my kids. I just don't have the time. So I put a sun shirt on. So what's left? I have their face, their neck. I put the hat on their head so that I know I've given them some shade, but I definitely put sunscreen, and I use only non-chemical myself now, prior to even the recent findings. And I don't use sprays, mainly because if you spray it, you may inhale it. You may not put it on clearly. Some people love the sprays. They think they go on fast, but the problem is there's really a difference in areas where they spray. And you should never spray where you have somebody smaller than you underneath you, because basically you're putting a film of the spray into their lungs. And never spray on your face. If you love sprays, I'm not going to say don't do it, but put it on your hand and then put it on your face. And make sure you get the bins behind the ears, behind the knees, your eyes, around your eyes. Make sure you're wearing your sunglasses, your nose, because people forget that 80% of the skin cancers on the face are on the nose, the tops of the ears. Even if you have the hat on, you're going to have it off at certain times. And you have to replace it. So people will tell me, but I had sunscreen on. They put it on at 7 a.m. before they went out fishing, which is, again, why I like the clothing, because I'm not going to start putting it on in the middle of my canoe. I know I'm not going to start pulling all my things off and trying to put sunscreen on. But if I have my clothes on, I only have to put it back on my face. Okay. So it makes it a lot easier.
Okay, great. That's all really great advice. We're just about out of time. One last thought you want to leave us with today, Carrie?
I would basically, mostly, I want to make sure that people think about the fact that they can spread the information and save other people. Okay. So even though I said the information is out there, do people know about it? So I love the idea of going to Don't Friday and the National Council on Skin Cancer Prevention, but I also like asking, your Kiwanis clubs, your school clubs, do they want to think about skin cancer prevention? Would they like to use some of the Don't Friday information? It can be used all year round. We're using pets, so we have lots of pictures of animals and then there are phrases underneath. So it makes it more enjoyable for kids and for all of us. You can see it on Twitter, etc., out there. So it's not just Instagram. But I really think it's important to spread the word. And then I'm going to say one last thing. If you see something on your friends and you think it looks different, tell them.
Okay.
Tell your hairdresser to tell you what's on top of your head. Make sure somebody looks at your back. Don't keep silent, though, when you see somebody else's. That's how I've saved several people on my own. My family used to just hate to sit next to me on an airplane.
All right.
But I've had the calls back. Thank you.
Great, Carrie. Thank you. Thank you so
thank
much.
You for spreading the word. Thank you.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We appreciate you being on. And thank you so much for joining us. We hope you'll come back and see us again next week. Until then, stay fit, stay well, and stay healthy for life with Healthy Living for Life. Have a great week, everybody.
Healthy Living for Life is brought to you by Mountain Pacific Quality Health in partnership with AARP Montana. We'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions for future programs, visit our website at mpqhf.org or call us at 406-443-4020. You can also catch us on YouTube by visiting our website and clicking on the Healthy Living for Life logo. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions.